It's Christmas, everyone!
I don't like that. Say it with more energy.
It's Christmas, everyone! This is my absolute favorite holiday, though I'm gonna admit I had some trouble thinking what to do. Like, I love Christmas. I love so many things about Christmas. I love the food. I love the people. I love that we're all together. Really, that's the thing I love the most. Everyone's just together, and it makes me feel happy. I then thought about what I hate about Christmas. Remember, snow exists, and decided to do that. Ice manipulation, or cryokinesis, is one of the most frequently used powers in fiction. Up there with super speed, strength, and fire manipulation. Despite that, a lot of uses of it can be a bit generic. I want to highlight the ones that stand out. This is kind of a mix of characters I like, and how good they are at manipulating ice, which will get a precedent over my feelings. Also, before I get into this, here's a promise. I will not make any ice puns throughout this video. They are overused. Even an unfunny pun lover like me can understand how overused they are. They've run their course. Yeah, let's start this.
No, come on, Stripe. Say it with more gusto and power.
Ice is nice.
Okay, so here's a fun question to start us off. Can you have a character who's both great at using ice powers and awful at it? I'm bringing it up so you can probably assume the answer is yes. Ice King is the main antagonist of Adventure Time, so I decided to give everyone severe trauma.
Really? Ice King? Whatever. He's not bad. Continue.
His main thing is that he tries to kidnap women and force them to marry him. I will not talk about that. He does this by using ice. It's kind of in his name, and he can do a lot of stuff with it. There's a standard ice blast and whatnot, but he can do so much more. The entire Ice King was made by him, as are all the monsters that live there. He once made an entire giant mech just out of ice. Finjay couldn't even dent it, though he also couldn't move. We all know by now that fire beats ice, but he was somehow able to hold his own against the Flame Princess in the worst episode of the series. Ice King is really a great character, my favorite character on this list actually, and a great ice user. The problem is the show hates him. This show really has something out for Ice King. Everything about him in the first couple seasons is made depressing in the later ones. His obsession with princesses, his fiancée left him when the crown made him go insane, and he called her his princess. His comedic personality, the crown completely drained any semblance of sanity he has to the point where he's genuinely insane. Him calling all his pets Gunter, it's a name he called Marceline when he found her abandoned. And he drove her away too because of his mental state. And he calls her that because it was all the original crown's wearer could say. All of his power comes from the crown he wears. Take it off, he's powerless. That alone is a massive weakness, but the main thing is that he slowly goes more insane the more he uses the crown. Dude just desperately needs a hug, or to be reunited with his fiancée, who's too busy summoning Cthulhu. And that he's completely powerless by the end of the series, I only put him this high, despite how much I like him as a character.
Ice is nice.
This is actually pretty interesting, because it made me realize that ice users are kind of boring. A lot of the same general feel and way of using their powers. What's even worse is that a lot of these characters are super popular, which means if I don't include them, people will then rip my head off. Very clever segue to SubZero.
Really? SubZero? Did you just Google ice characters and then put them in? Oh gosh.
SubZero, as most people know him, is a Grandmaster of Lin Kuei, and arguably the most iconic Mortal Kombat character besides Scorpion. He's your textbook ice manipulator. He can freeze people solid, and does have some more unique applications like making ice gauntlets or ice spikes or, oh god, I'm gonna say ice so often in this video. However, it speaks volumes that an ice user's most well-known move is something that has nothing to do with ice at all. So you may be wondering why SubZero makes it into this list at all. Well, popularity is one thing, but the main reason why is this. SubZero can just make an entire statue of himself entirely out of ice and then use it as his opponent. Dude just out here casually making perfect ice sculptures, and he's wasting his talent in fighting? You know how hard making an ice sculpture is? Probably not, but I'm just guessing it's hard, so frick you. So truly, SubZero is my sub-hero or something.
Ice is nice.
So anime is a thing that exists. If you didn't know that, I'm sorry, but it's true. I try to include at least one anime character in every video I make, because all my friends like anime far more than anything I'm interested in, and I gotta bait them to watching somehow. There's just one problem. I don't really know any really good Ice Wielders in anime. I either haven't seen their series, they're a minor character, or they have some hang-up. If only I knew someone who really likes anime. Also, preferably that person also has a name that fits with the subject of this video.
That's me, Ice of the channel PlusandMinus. A pleasure. Anyway, my ice guy. Let me paint you a picture. Think One Piece. Not that kind of One Piece, the Straw Hat kind of One Piece. Okay, now think of 3 men. That's the picture. It's this picture. Green shirt, red shirt, blue shirt. Blue shirt is my ice guy. Kuzan, also known as his government, Aokiji, is probably my favorite ice character simply just because of his personality. Sure, he has enough power to send an island into an ice age, but beneath that cold exterior that is his powers, he's a kind-hearted, warm man. I'm just kidding. Kuzan is more of a laid-back and doesn't really want to show off any shock or surprise of anything kind of thing. He deals with what comes at him one day at a time. He's also very goofy in the overpowered kind of way. Like, he casually rides a bike across the Grand Line, which is like one of the most dangerous seas on the planet, and is a place where people usually need a whole crew of people to survive. Kuzan might come across as kind sometimes, but I think he's more conflicted than kind, given what he's done in his lifetime. I forgot to mention this, but Kuzan was once an admiral of the Marines, which is one of the highest honors in the Marines, and it means he's really strong, like probably one of the strongest in the world. His Devil Fruit ability, which is basically his superpower, is the Ice Fruit, or the Hiya no Mi. It's wildly powerful. As I mentioned earlier, he could freeze over a small island and bring it into an ice age. He could possibly do that with a big island, we just haven't seen it yet. We are actually yet to see the full extent of his powers, but what we do know is that he sure is big boy power. Kuzan's philosophy of justice is quite interesting. The thing called justice changes its shape depending on where you stand. That's a curious quote given that he used to be an admiral of an organization that cries crocodile tears called Justice. Kuzan is one of my favorite characters merely because of this, and also his mythical appearances throughout One Piece creates this character of sheer curiosity. He also has immaculate drip, by the way.
Ice is nice.
I have 3 things on my top 10 list I try to always hit. A cartoon rep, which was Ice King, an anime rep, which we just talked about, and a curry rep, who, spoiler alert, will be later on in this list. There is, however, a secret final thing I tried to include, the frick you listen to my video entry. Slushie is one of the many Pokemon knockoffs in Lilo and Stitch, specifically number 523. He's part of the experiments that are based on elemental attacks, and he's unsurprisingly ice, if the clear body and spikes him tip you off. Slushie just radiates big, chaotic baby energy. Why is his nose so big? Well, Slushie does have a lot of generic abilities. The level of, I don't care if it's a cartoon, let's make it busted, he exudes is why he's on this list. This guy just casually freezes over a good majority of Hawaii. Like Ice King, he's also capable of creating more complex structures like this ice fortress. He also does something that's practically unheard of in fiction. Fighting a fire wielder with ice and actually doing a good job. He is eventually defeated though, thanks to Splody Head and Stitch just not getting a single fatal cavity. He finally becomes a shape ice maker. Finally, a useful ability on this list.
Ice is nice.
Number 6 is... Number 6 is... Honey, what's number 6?
Not sure, but they're probably really cool.
We're getting a divorce! It is now time for the chattiest Chad to ever Chad, ladies and gentlemen. Frozen isn't that unique in terms of Ice Wielders, but try to argue with me that he's on here. Frozen may be retired for a majority of the first movie, but even then, he proves he's one of the best supers out there. What he does in his limited screen time is quite impressive. He almost effortlessly makes a giant ice wall, which doesn't do much stuff under it, but I'm not going to hold it against him to see how strong it is. Big takeaway is how he literally ice skates around everywhere. Actually think about this. He has to make the ice he skates on as he makes it. It takes skill. Lucius is clearly the best. Well, 6th best.
Ice is nice.
No, don't tell me you're gonna do it. No, please, no!
A freeze is coming. Allow me to break the ice. Freeze well. Kick some ice. All right, everyone.
I didn't make any of those puns, so they don't count. You go ahead and hold those against me. Frick you! Also, I talked about him in the previous video, so just watch this, I guess. I don't freaking care.
Ice is nice.
We now land in the obligatory court re-entry.
You are a strange man, Stribe the Squid.
There's a handful of ones that qualify, but Francisca definitely seems the most notable. She's one of the 3 mage sisters, and the first one you meet in game. The mages are based on the 3 main elements, and Francisca is ice. Oh thank god she's relevant to this video. Francisca gets this high because of her extremely unique implementation of ice. She doesn't do generic ice blasts, instead she literally weaponizes it. She can make little ice blades fall from the sky, carries around an ice mace that she uses to smash and freeze people, and the top of the mace can even disconnect from the main part to use as a giant flying ice shuriken or doom and destruction trademark. Then there's her water gun, also known as the reason she doesn't make the top 3. Taking the great pun of a literal water gun aside, this is her only move that has nothing to do with ice, and sticks out so much. I just don't feel right with putting her higher because of it. Still though, Francesca is a great addition to the list. Flamberge is still a better mage sister.
Ice is nice.
So I've complained about the generic usage of ice manipulation a lot on this list. I mean, there's a good reason. These people really think they can have a generic ice powers and not get called out by an irrelevant YouTuber? But it does make me think, can you somehow be super generic, yet also super interesting. And I think you can. My channel, Iceman. Born as Robert Louis Drake, Iceman is a major character in the X-Men series. Though despite that, he doesn't do much to stand out in it. Like, he's a fun character, but out of the approximately 5 billion X-Men, he's not that special, at least at first glance. In X-Men, there's a special selection of mutants called Omega Mutants, which are basically the advanced mutants. I talked about them in my last Christmas video, actually. Iceman is a part of this. That specialty lets him come here, along with his special abilities. At first, it seemed kind of generic, ice blast and skating and whatnot, but this is comics, so of course they gotta make this dude as ridiculous as possible. Iceman can make himself into an organic ice form. In it, he can basically make anything out of ice using the moisture in the air. He's also able to regulate his own body heat, including lowering his body heat so low that he was able to stop a nuclear explosion. He can also sense the body heat of others and make clones of himself, and he can make ice so strong not even the Hulk could break it. Basically, when making Iceman, they just asked what ice-based powers can we give this guy, and someone just replied yes. He's basically a snow-wielding Swiss Army knife, and more than worthy of this spot.
Ice is nice.
Well, I'm not gonna make any friends with this one.
You are right.
Okay, that's too far. I kinda had to get to Frozen eventually. Elsa is basically the most well-known Ice Wielder now, and that's saying a lot considering how big a lot of the characters I mentioned so far are. Like Iceman at first glance, it seems she's got just a generic ice stuff, but she's arguably done the most impressive things on this list. She built an entire castle just by stomping her foot. She's frozen, haha, over an entire tidal wave that was stated to be able to destroy an entire town. She's made life twice. She's frozen over an entire continent, and most importantly, she yeeted a giant snowball across continents at Hans. The most impressive thing is that those last three were done by complete accident. I would not be surprised if in the inevitable Frozen 3, she just freezes over the entire Earth. Someone who's literally told to never use her powers for the majority of her life, she is truly one of the most potent in terms of ice usage, and truly deserves her popularity. And if you're still for some reason bitter about her and the film's popularity, then I feel like you really just have to shut up, like literally no one cares.
Ice is nice.
Big Chill from Ben 10. One of my favorite Ben 10 aliens, though that's what holds him back. That he's just really just a small part of someone else's arsenal. Avatar waterbenders. Excluded because they're waterbenders first, and ice is just supplementary. Frost Knight. He's not so much ice manipulating as much as shoveling around with snowballs, but hey, that's dope. Jack Frost. He's popular, especially in the cringe realm of the internet, which is all of them, but cryokinetic, he's super bland. At first I thought this was about SMT. Jack Frost, but then like second half was like, oh, it's about Res Guardians Jack Frost. So I'm sorry. I guess I'll throw in SMT Jack Frost here too, since I just thought about him. So there you go. Shoro Todoroki from My Hero Academia and Lord Dominator from Wander Over Yonder. I know it seems weird to put these two at the same time, but like I like both of these characters, but both of them use both fire and ice, and that immediately disqualifies them. Night King from Game of Thrones. This weird voice in the back of my head told me to add him, even though he sucks. I don't know. Snow Miser, because he's Mr. White Christmas. He's Mr. Snow. He's Mr. Icicle. He's Mr. 10 Below. They call him Snow! Finally, Rundus from Metroid. A very standard usage of the element, though I will give him credit for being one of the few ice makers who just naturally have the power. No magic or ice technology or anything like that. Also, flying ice skates.
Ice is nice.
So, I've heard of this Pokemon thing.
No, never heard of Pokemon before.
With an entire type dedicated to it, Pokemon was an obvious inclusion to this list. What was less obvious was who to pick. My favorite ice type is Weavile, but it doesn't feel right to give it just to any Pokemon. It's gotta be one who truly takes ice manipulation to a new level. One who truly symbolizes ice. Is there any Pokemon that does that? Any at all? I didn't think of one. Black and White seem pretty, well, black and white with their symbolism. Reshiram is truth, and Zekrom is ideals. Kyurem makes things interesting. What is he? Well, he's nothing. An empty shell, hence why he's ice. He doesn't give off heat. He's nothing. Well, nothing. Besides Radical, this fricker froze a cave just by waking up. Its energy can be used to freeze over a decent chunk of Unova, and this is just an incomplete version of itself. By splicing its data, it can become either White Kyurem or Black Kyurem. Weira combines its ice powers with either fire or electricity, respectively. And before you get mad at me for putting him at number 1, despite using non-ice abilities, unlike Francesca, who randomly makes you wet, I shouldn't have worded it like that, Kyurem combines his ice with other elements, which is something I've never seen done before. That alone puts him high. What puts him at number 1, that isn't even his final form. The lore behind Kyurem is that he's the abandoned husk of the original dragon. And that original dragon is all three combined. So in other words, Kyurem has a chance of becoming even stronger with potentially even better ice manipulation, despite being already ridiculous. And that, plus like literally this entire section, pay attention, is what puts him at the top of this ice-covered mountain.
Hey, do the ending. Do the ending. Stripe, do the ending. Do the ending. Stripe, do the ending. Do the ending. Do the ending. Stripe, do the ending. Do the ending. Stripe, do the ending. Do the ending. Stripe, do the ending. Do the ending.
I'll get you for the stripe, the squid.
Mark my words, I'll get you